If you are over the age of 60 and still suffer from stubborn, embarrassing bad breath no matter how much you brush, you have finally clicked on the right video. The information you are about to hear will not only reveal the one simple ingredient that completely eliminated my awful breath in just 2 weeks, but it will also give you back the confidence you may have thought was lost forever. Before we continue, I want to ask for a small favor that will make a world of difference. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Most importantly, I invite you to share your own story in the comments below. Your journey, your struggles, and your discoveries could be the one piece of advice that brings hope and relief to someone else who is feeling lost and alone in this struggle. Your words have the power to be a light for others. For years, a quiet shame followed me everywhere I went. It wasn't something I could see, but I could feel it in the way people took a subtle step back when I spoke. I saw it in the way my own grandchildren would turn their heads slightly when I leaned in to give them a kiss goodnight. That single, almost imperceptible movement, it was like a tiny dagger to my heart every single time. It wasn't just about the fear of offending them, it was about the chasm it created. I was their grandfather, a figure of love and stories, but this invisible barrier was making me a stranger in my own family. It was the constant, metallic, sour taste in my own mouth, a taste that no amount of brushing, flossing, or rinsing with minty mouthwash could ever truly erase. It was the first thing I noticed upon waking and the last thing I tasted before a restless sleep. I became a master of disguise, a magician of social distancing long before the world knew what that term meant. My coat pockets were a rattling pharmacy of mints, gums, and breath strips. I had specific brands for specific situations, the strong peppermint ones for after coffee, the milder spearmint for general conversation. I'd pop one in my mouth before entering a room, another before speaking, creating a fleeting illusion of freshness that would vanish within minutes, leaving the same old stale reality behind. I learned to hold my breath during conversations, speaking in short, clipped sentences to minimize the chance of anyone noticing. I avoided sitting too close to friends at our weekly card game. I would angle my body away, laugh with my head turned, a constant, exhausting performance of avoidance. The joy of simple connection, of sharing a story face to face, was slowly being choked out by this pervasive fear of rejection. It started to change who I was. I, who had always been a storyteller, a man who loved a good joke, became quiet. My wife noticed. "You're so serious lately, Frank," she'd say, her voice laced with concern. But how could I explain that the words felt trapped behind a wall of shame? How could I tell her that I felt unclean from the inside out? I thought I was doing everything right. My bathroom counter looked like a dental aisle at the pharmacy. I brushed twice a day, sometimes 3 times, with the most advanced whitening, tartar-controlled toothpaste I could find. I bought expensive miracle rinses I saw on late-night television. I used the strongest mouthwash on the market, the electric blue kind that burned your cheeks and promised to kill 99.9% of germs. But that searing clean feeling was a lie. It was a temporary ceasefire in a war I was losing. I scraped my tongue until it was raw. I flossed until my gums were sore and tender, convinced that if I could just scrub hard enough, I could somehow scrub the problem away. Yet the problem persisted, a stubborn shadow that clung to me from the moment I woke up to the moment I fell into a restless sleep. My dentist was a kind man, but he offered no real solutions. "Your teeth are clean, Frank," he'd say, peering into my mouth under the bright light. "Gums look okay. Maybe it's just part of getting older. Some people are just prone to it." That phrase, "just part of getting older," felt like a life sentence. A sentence to a life lived at arm's length, a life of quiet isolation and creeping self-consciousness. I felt hopeless, as if my own body had betrayed me, leaving me with a secret shame that was slowly eroding my very sense of self. I was tired of feeling like I had something to hide. The turning point came not from a sterile doctor's office, but from a place that smelled of old paper and forgotten stories, a local flea market. I was there on a Saturday morning, the air crisp with autumn chill. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, mostly just trying to pass the time, feeling a bit lonely and adrift. While sifting through a box of old hardcovers, a particular book caught my eye. It was a well-worn guide to herbal remedies from the 1970s. Its cover faded, its pages yellowed with age. Tucked away in a chapter on oral health was a small, unassuming paragraph about the powerful antibacterial properties of a particular plant oil, one used for centuries by Australian Aboriginal cultures to treat wounds and infections. It spoke of an oil so potent that a single drop could disrupt the very source of bad breath, not just mask its symptoms. The book described the real cause of chronic bad breath, or halitosis, as something that our modern habits of brushing and rinsing often completely miss. The problem isn't just leftover food particles from lunch. It's a hidden, thriving ecosystem of what are known as anaerobic bacteria. These are microbes that live deep within the crevices of your tongue, in the pockets below your gum line, and in the dark, moist recesses of your throat. They thrive in environments without oxygen. As they digest tiny proteins left in your mouth, they release volatile sulfur compounds, things like hydrogen sulfide and methyl mercaptan. That is the true source of that persistent, rotten, foul odor. It's the smell of decay on a microscopic level. Most commercial mouthwashes, especially those containing alcohol, are a double-edged sword. They might kill some bacteria on contact, creating a brief illusion of freshness, but they also severely dry out your mouth. This dryness eliminates your saliva's natural protective qualities, creating an even more hospitable environment for these odor-causing bacteria to flourish just a few hours later. It's a vicious cycle of temporary masking followed by a worse rebound. But this oil, the book claimed, did something entirely different. It didn't just cover the smell, it systematically dismantled the source. It was a natural antiseptic that could penetrate the protective biofilm where these bacteria hide, effectively neutralizing them without disrupting the mouth's delicate moisture balance. That oil was tea tree oil. I was deeply skeptical, of course. My logical mind rebelled. How could one simple, natural drop from a plant accomplish what years of expensive, scientifically formulated dental products couldn't? It sounded too simple, too good to be true. But I was also desperate enough to try anything. I went to a local health food store, found the essential oils aisle, and bought a small, dark glass bottle of pure, 100% tea tree oil. The label warned that it was for external use only and should be diluted, which reinforced its potency in my mind. That night, my routine changed forever. I went into the bathroom, put my usual pea-sized amount of toothpaste on my brush, and then, with a hopeful and slightly trembling hand, I tipped the bottle and let a single, tiny drop of the tea tree oil fall onto the paste. The aroma was strong, medicinal and clean, like a forest after a rainstorm. I took a deep breath and began to brush. The sensation was different. It wasn't a sweet minty flavor, but a clean, tingling feeling that felt profoundly purifying. I brushed as I normally would, for a full 2 minutes, making sure to gently brush my tongue, the roof of my mouth, and even my inner cheeks. For the first few days, I can't say I noticed a dramatic change. The taste in my mouth was perhaps a little cleaner, the medicinal scent of the oil lingered, but the deep-seated issue I had come to know so well was still there. I almost gave up, tossing it aside in my mind as another failed experiment, another snake oil remedy. But the old book had stressed the importance of patience, of giving the natural compound time to work its way into the bacterial strongholds. So I persisted. Around day 7, something profound shifted. I woke up, and for the first time in what felt like a decade, my mouth didn't have that immediate, stale, heavy morning taste. It was a subtle difference, a quiet neutrality, but it was unmistakably there. By day 10, the change was undeniable. The metallic tang that had been my constant companion throughout the day was fading into a distant memory. I found myself going hours without even thinking about my breath. I'd be in the middle of a conversation and realize, with a jolt of surprise, that I wasn't holding back, that I wasn't pre-planning my sentences around when I could sneak a mint. By the end of the second week, the transformation was complete. The awful breath that had haunted me, that had dictated my social interactions and stolen my confidence for years, had simply vanished. It wasn't masked, it was gone. The true test, the moment of real vindication, came a few weeks later at my regular 6-month dental checkup. As my dentist, Dr. Evans, was finishing his examination, he pulled back, his brow furrowed in a puzzled expression. "Frank," he said, holding his little mirror and probe, "your oral hygiene is always good, but this is different. Your gums look healthier, less inflammation, and the bacterial plaque levels are significantly lower than I've ever seen on your chart. In fact, some of these gum pocket measurements are a full millimeter shallower than 6 months ago. That doesn't just happen at your age. What on earth are you doing differently?" I smiled, a real, broad, confident smile for the first time in his office in years, and I told him my secret. He was shocked, then intrigued. He leaned back in his chair, taking it in. He knew about tea tree oil's topical antiseptic properties for skin issues, but had never considered its direct application in daily oral care for halitosis. It was a powerful moment for me. It wasn't just part of getting older. It was a solvable problem, and the solution was simple, natural, and incredibly effective. This experience taught me a profound lesson that went far beyond my breath. It taught me that the real solution wasn't just about adding one secret ingredient. It was about understanding the root cause of the problem and creating a holistic system of care. While the tea tree oil was the powerful catalyst for my transformation, my newfound curiosity led me to research and understand the other critical pillars of oral health that are especially important for us as we age. The first and most overlooked issue I uncovered is dry mouth, or the clinical term, xerostomia. As we get older, our saliva production can naturally decrease. This problem is often severely compounded by the very medications many of us rely on for blood pressure, depression, pain, or allergies, antihistamines, diuretics, you name it. Saliva is your mouth's unsung hero. It is a natural cleaning agent, constantly at work. It washes away food particles, it neutralizes harmful acids that erode enamel, and it contains powerful enzymes that wage a constant war against bacteria. When your mouth is dry, this entire defense system shuts down. It becomes a stagnant, arid landscape, a perfect breeding ground for the very anaerobic bacteria that cause bad breath. Think of saliva as a flowing, vibrant river that keeps a valley clean and lush. When the river dries up, stagnant, smelly ponds form and life within them begins to decay. That's precisely what happens in a chronically dry mouth. The solution isn't just to drink more water, though that is absolutely crucial. It's to actively and consistently stimulate saliva flow throughout the day. I found that chewing sugar-free gum, especially a brand containing xylitol, was incredibly helpful. Xylitol is a natural sweetener that has the added benefit of being antibacterial. Sucking on sugar-free citrus or mint lozenges also works wonders. I even started using a humidifier in my bedroom at night, which helped prevent my mouth from drying out while I slept. I started keeping a water bottle with me at all times, not just at meals, taking small, frequent sips throughout the day, not waiting until I felt thirsty. This simple habit of constant, gentle hydration helped to restore my mouth's natural, protective, and cleansing moisture. The second critical habit I adopted was rigorous, daily tongue scraping. Your tongue, under a microscope, is like a shaggy carpet. Its surface is covered in thousands of tiny projections called papillae, which can easily trap bacteria, dead cells, and food debris. Brushing your tongue with a toothbrush certainly helps, but it often just moves the bacteria around rather than fully removing it. A tongue scraper, which is a simple, U-shaped tool often made of stainless steel or copper, is designed for one purpose: to physically and effectively remove the layer of gunk from your tongue surface. When I first incorporated this into my routine, I was absolutely horrified by what came off my tongue: a thick, whitish yellow film that had been the source of so much of that persistent odor. It's a practice that takes only 30 seconds in the morning, right after waking, but the impact on breath freshness is immediate and profound. You simply hold both ends, gently glide the scraper from the back of your tongue to the front 4 or 5 times, rinsing the tool after each pass. This removes the bacterial biofilm that the tea tree oil helps to kill, a true 1-2 punch against bad breath. It's a hygienic practice that has been used in Eastern and Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, and for a very good reason. It works. The third area I had to honestly address was my diet. I always had a bit of a sweet tooth, and I never truly realized how much the sugar in my daily diet was feeding the bad bacteria in my mouth. These anaerobic bacteria absolutely feast on sugar and simple carbohydrates. They metabolize these sugars, multiplying rapidly and releasing even more of those foul-smelling sulfur compounds. It's a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. The more sugar you eat, the more you fuel the very source of the problem. I made a conscious and deliberate effort to cut back on sugary snacks, sodas, and even some starchy food like white bread, crackers, and pasta, all of which break down into simple sugars in the mouth. I replaced them with crisp, fibrous fruits and vegetables like apples, carrots, and celery. These foods don't just provide nutrients, they act as nature's toothbrushes, physically scrubbing away plaque and stimulating the gums as you chew. I also made a point to incorporate more probiotic-rich foods into my diet, like plain Greek yogurt and kefir. These foods introduce beneficial bacteria not only into your gut, but into your oral cavity as well, which can help to crowd out and create a healthier balance, overpowering the odor-causing microbes. A healthy gut biome almost always leads to a healthier oral biome. The connection between our digestive system and our oral health is far more powerful and direct than most of us realize. Finally, I learned the critical importance of what happens between my teeth. Even with the most diligent brushing, food particles can get trapped in the tiny, tight spaces that a toothbrush bristles simply cannot reach. This is where flossing becomes absolutely non-negotiable. However, as I got older, I discovered something even more effective and gentler for my aging gums, a water flosser. This incredible device uses a pulsating stream of water to flush out debris from between the teeth and, crucially, from below the gum line. It's gentler and less abrasive than string floss, especially if you have sensitive gums, dental bridges, crowns, or implants. It's incredibly effective at cleaning those hard-to-reach areas where bacteria love to hide. Using a water flosser every single night before brushing felt like giving my mouth a deep cleaning power wash. It removed hidden food particles I never knew were there, particles that would have otherwise decayed overnight and contributed to that awful morning breath. Putting it all together, my life has been fundamentally transformed. It wasn't just one magic bullet, but a collection of small, intentional, daily habits. The drop of tea tree oil was the powerful key that unlocked the door, but it was the full system of care, hydration, scraping, diet, and deep cleaning that completely rebuilt the house. I no longer fear conversations. I lean in to hug my grandchildren without a single shred of self-doubt. I shared jokes and stories with my friends at the card game, my voice full and confident. The shame that once shadowed my every waking interaction has been lifted, replaced by a sense of clean, simple, and profound freedom. I share the story not to sell you a product or a gimmick, but to offer you genuine, heartfelt hope. You are not destined to live with the embarrassment of bad breath. It is not an inevitable or acceptable part of getting older. It is a problem, and it has a solution. You have the power to change your story, just as I changed mine. It begins with understanding the true source of the problem and then taking small, consistent, daily steps to address it. If you have been struggling in silence, feeling your world shrink a little more each day, please know that you are not alone. This is a journey that many of us walk, but you don't have to walk it with your head down in shame. Start with one change. Maybe it's the drop of tea tree oil. Maybe it's buying a simple tongue scraper. Maybe it's just committing to drinking more water throughout the day. Start somewhere and be patient and kind with yourself. Your body wants to heal. All you have to do is give it the right tools and the right support. The confidence you will regain is priceless. It's the confidence to speak your mind, to laugh freely, to connect deeply, to live fully and without fear. That is a gift you absolutely deserve to give yourself. Thank you for listening to my story. I truly hope it helps you find the same relief and freedom that I was so fortunate to discover.